What's going on, everyone? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to English TV Live. We are live right now, I believe, in a few different places inside of our private community, of course, where we're live every day from Monday to Friday. We're also live on YouTube and on our Facebook page. So we're in a few different areas today trying out something new. Let me say what's up to a few people who are watching from our private community. Japanese, Jorgen, Jamal, Jasmine, Tatiana, Chicho, Victoria, Larissa, Victor, Mark, of course, Lloyd is in the comments as well. Nastya is there too. What's up, Nastya? Lloyd is in the comments as well. If I say anything confusing at all, anything confusing that you don't understand, or if you have questions about anything that you'd like to ask. It is a fine Monday morning over here in Calgary, Canada, where I am. The snow has finally stopped falling, but I am, at this point, I'm not foolish enough to believe that it is done for good. Who knows? Hopefully. It should be soon. I've got my coffee here, and I am ready to talk about pet peeves. That is going to be the topic of today's show, of course. If you're curious about that last slide, about what I'm going to talk about, whether it's traffic jams, dirty socks, or deodorant, stay tuned until the end. You can win Toby points. If you're watching on a public page and you don't know what Toby points are, don't worry. That will all become clear in the coming days. But let's get right into it. Let me see who else is watching on our public channels. So it appears that the public channels aren't working as planned. So that's okay. We're working with some new technology, so there are bound to be some bumps here. I apologize if I can't see your comments on Facebook and on YouTube. Got our private members right here. Shazia is watching too. What's up, Shazia? Suhana, Maria, Eugenia. Hello, everyone. Tatiana says, of course we are curious. There's Toby currency on the bet. People are betting their Toby points on what I'm going to talk about. Let's get into it today, though. We're going to talk about pet peeves, okay? Pet peeves. What are the most common pet peeves? Now, a pet peeve in English is basically just something that pisses you off, something that makes you angry, something that's really annoying, that is a regular thing that people do. And this is Arts and Culture with Jacob. I was curious to know what sorts of things make people mad. It seems like there are lots of things that, general behaviors that people do that make us mad. I found a list online, I believe it was ranker.com or something like that, where they created categories of behaviors and people voted on them to vote which is the most annoying pet peeve, the most frustrating thing, the most frustrating behavior. And we're going to go through the top 5 today. Now, this one particular article got hundreds of thousands of votes. So it's a pretty good sample size, and I'm curious to know what you think. I have some questions for you as well. But the first one that we're going to look at today, this is not my opinion. Of course, all of these things are frustrating. But the first one, as voted on by people of the internet, messy and unflushed toilet seats. When you go into a public bathroom and you really have to go, really have to go, and you look at the toilet and it's plugged, it's messy, there's no toilet paper. I'm sure that all of us have been in situations like that before, but this was voted on by people of the internet. Messy or unflushed toilet seats. You can also say in English, clogged toilets or plugged toilets. If a toilet is plugged, if a toilet is clogged, what does that mean? Well, it means that you can't really use it because someone else used it before you, and maybe they used too much toilet paper, and it doesn't work now. None of us love, or none of us like plugged or clogged toilet seats, and of course it's always embarrassing when we plug it ourselves and no one wants to admit it. So I'm sure all of us have been the victim of this and also guilty of this before. The next one, this was number 4, rudeness. People voted that rudeness was something that really annoyed them. Now, I don't actually, when I was reading this list, I'm curious to know what you guys think of this, because When I was reading this list, I saw that number 4 was rudeness, and I didn't really like that category because I thought that rudeness was a little bit, can you see this here? Vague. Rudeness was a little bit vague for me. What does the word vague mean? If something is vague, something that's written or spoken, if that thing is vague, it's a little bit unclear. It's difficult to understand, okay? That thing is vague. And rudeness, to me, is a little bit of a vague category. What does rudeness mean? Some people think that certain things are rude. Other people don't think that certain things are rude. Another word we could use is subjective, okay? It's hard to define what rudeness is exactly, and maybe sometimes you have to be a little bit blunt or a little bit forward, and some people might interpret that as rudeness. So I didn't like rudeness for the reason that I thought it was a little bit vague as a category. Again, this word vague in English just means unclear. I want you to tell me in the comments right now about a time when someone said something to you, maybe when you asked someone a question, when you wanted some kind of information from someone, and the answer that they gave you was a little bit vague. Tell me in the comments. Let me check on the comments, by the way. Again, I apologize. It appears that we have quite a few people watching on Facebook and on YouTube as well. I can't actually see the comments right now on YouTube, but that is okay. We'll fix that for next lesson. Let me go to the comments in our private group here. Belen asks, has anybody been through a situation when you saw a disaster public bathroom, then you thought, how the hell this happened? Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think a pretty good marker of an establishment is how clean and nice the washrooms are. Generally speaking, this is just my experience too. If you go into a place, whether it's a bar, a restaurant, whatever it is, if the washroom is clean, things are kept in order, usually the restaurant, the bar, the salon, wherever it is that you are, usually that place is of pretty good quality too. I find there's a surprisingly high correlation from my own experience. Victoria says, when people are trying to avoid answering questions, they give a vague answer. Yeah, nicely said. So oftentimes we are purposely vague. We're vague on purpose because we feel uncomfortable answering certain questions, or maybe sometimes we don't know the answer to certain questions that we should know the answer to, so we give vague answers. Nicely done. Today we have Mark Inchenko watching the lesson within his trial with ETL. In fact, he is my son, Ivan. Please welcome him. Welcome, Ivan. There are lots of such situations when people were vague to me, but I forget about such people. Awesome. All right. The moment you've all been waiting for. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about one of my pet peeves, and I know that all of you were betting on this with your Toby points. So it has time. I can't speak today. I didn't get much sleep last night. That's one of my pet peeves, and that can be quite frustrating. But going to the Toby wager. So I asked you all a question before this. Again, if you're watching on a public page, Facebook or YouTube, if you don't know what any of this is, don't worry. We're going to keep doing these public shows, and you'll become more familiar with these, well, this gambling chatbot that we have. You'll become more familiar with what he's all about. But I asked you to guess what I was going to talk about in my live show today. And the results are in. I checked about half an hour before this started. 19% of you picked deodorant. 27% picked dirty socks. 54% think traffic jams. And all of you wagered varying number of points between 1 and 10. So actually, You know, one of my pet peeves, and unfortunately this happens more than I'd like, is I hate when I have to go somewhere important, when I'm in a rush and I have to run out the door and I realize that actually my deodorant stick is out, that there's no more deodorant, that I forgot to buy a new what is this, a new container of deodorant. So you have to run out, and then to use a word that I used last week, you start feeling a little bit self-conscious. You think, do I smell bad? I'm out of deodorant. I hope I don't smell bad. I hope that no one else can smell me. It's also one of my pet peeves when other people smell bad and it's clear that they're not using deodorant. I'm thinking of one person in particular, someone who I worked with in the past who would always have horrible body odor, and you wanted to just say to that person, can you put on some deodorant, please? It's horrible to be around you because you smell so bad. So not having deodorant, or other people not having deodorant when they smell bad, is one of my pet peeves. All right, so if any of you picked deodorant, congratulations. For those of you who didn't, which is most of you, I'm sorry, but there will be more Toby gambling points available. And with that said, I'm going to end the public stream here. Again, my apologies for not responding to your comments if you're watching on a public page. We will be back tomorrow, though. Lloyd will be back with you for the news with Lloyd. And if you are a private member, stay tuned, okay? Don't go anywhere, because we're going to finish the rest of the list. We're going to talk about number 3, number 2, and number 1 on this list of pet peeves, and we're going to learn some more English together on this fine Monday morning. Okay, everyone? So, bye-bye. Stay tuned.